Hello, Tessitura Network. Welcome to the annual global gathering of Tessitura Network members and users from around the world. And for those of you watching on live stream, welcome to you as well. Well, it's only taken 13 years and 12 cities for the stars to align to bring the Tessitura Learning and Community Conference to the Dallas-Fort Worth region. We are proud to have you here. It's my home, as you'll hear several times today. This is a large region. It's in the largest state in the lower 48 and very economically vibrant. The region itself is large. We're made up of 13 counties. We have 9,000 square miles. We have 6.5 million population. That's bigger than Connecticut and Rhode Island combined. We have a large concentration of corporate headquarters here in one of the largest in the United States. And if we were measuring by gross domestic product, this would be the 6th largest region in the country and the 10th largest in the world. Yes, it is large. And we have a few sports teams as well. We've won 5 Super Bowls, although our team has gone AWOL for the last 10 years. Jerry Jones, can we please have our team back? Won that Stanley Cup, the NBA championship, and yes, we were one painful out away from the World Series victory. And we have one of the largest arts districts in the United States, between the two cities of Dallas-Fort Worth. I grew up here, and so welcome, finally, to my home. And for some of you, this is probably the first time in Texas, so there are a few stereotypes and a few myths about Texas. We'll dispel a few of those before we get started. Don talked about it last night. And many of you might know Dallas from this guy, JR. Yes, I am the other JR. And I grew up with horses. The first horse I grew up with was probably like the horse that many of you had. And then I started riding a bit, and I actually did work on a ranch for a few summers as well. And in 2009, some of you probably came to Texas for TLCC 2009. It was held in San Antonio, also in Texas. San Antonio, bit like a theme park. Many of you might have thought you were at Six Flags. It was river walks and cantinas and strolling mariachis, and it was a great time. It does hold some of the icons of Texas, and we're proud of those icons. But we also have some stereotypes. We have 2 kinds of cowboys, one with a helmet and one with horses. We have cattle drives, we have oil wells, and yes, we have governors with big hair and guns. They even made a play about her on Broadway. And we're honored, truly honored, to be here at the Morton H. Meyerson Symphony Center. This is an Pei-designed facility. Russ Johnson Acoustics and the maestro, Jaap van Sweden. This is one of the finest orchestras in the United States and recognized around the world. We're so pleased that they had us here at their home. The organ that you just heard is the Fisk organ. It's actually revolutionized the way organs are made. It's known here as the Herman Lay family concert organ. But this is 4,535 pipes, and it's a landmark of sound, and the technology behind it started a whole new organ revolution. Playing that organ so well, unbelievably well, keeping it in the network family was Michael Shake. Michael is the husband of Laura Bowden, our Director of Administration. Big round of applause once again for Michael. I've been to a lot of symphony halls. I love them all. This is one of my favorite. It's very warm, it's very vibrant, and besides great orchestra performances, there are a lot of city events in this hall, philanthropy events, special performances. And yes, bringing it close to home, my daughter graduated on the stage right here a few years ago with her high school class. They do a wonderful job, and that's not just a proud father talking. It was a great evening. This is a vibrant arts district, and Dallas is home to the largest contiguous geographic arts district in the United States. There's 68 acres over a 20 square block neighborhood. We'll hear more about that in a moment. I was fortunate to grow up here, went through public schools in Dallas. We had the arts drilled into us. art appreciation drilled into us. In 7th grade, I had an art history teacher with flashcards, paintings, artists. I can walk into almost any art museum in the world and cite paintings by name and by artist. It was pretty intense. We had the general director of the Dallas Summer Musicals come to our grade school and enticed us about the magic of Broadway. Then we took our class to the Dallas Summer Musicals, and was fortunate to go to the Kalita Humphreys Theater, the only Frank Lloyd Wright designed theater. This was the primary home of the Dallas Theater Center. Many of you toured the Wiley. A magnificent theater and still in use today, one of the finest regional theater companies in the United States. But it's not just about Dallas. 30 miles to the west is Fort Worth. Fort Worth is the city of cowboys and culture, and they have a lot of it. They have a highly established and vibrant arts scene. And downtown, this is what they call Sundance Square, a 35-block area, home of arts, home of entertainment, home of housing, home of restaurants. It's a lot of fun, but that's not all in Fort Worth. They have a museum district not far from there with 7 museums and a contiguous area as well. All have a different type of art, so you can get lost in art in Fort Worth as well. You can also get lost on a mechanical bull, which some of you can do tomorrow night. So we've heard about the Arts District, and it's representative. Many of you have arts districts in your region, in Pittsburgh, in Melbourne, in Santa Fe, in Tulsa, in London, in Cardiff. So there's arts districts everywhere, and we're all learning from each other. And I'm looking forward to learning a bit more about that. But first, we were so proud of our arts scene in Dallas that we sent a film crew. We have 12 license holders in the area. We sent a film crew out to interview the leaders of most of those organizations. So instead of talking about it, I'm going to watch the film with you.
Good afternoon. I'm Jonathan Martin. I'm President and CEO of the Dallas Symphony Orchestra, and welcome to the Morton H. Meyerson Symphony Center, the home of the Dallas Symphony Orchestra.
This is like a city of gold. It's something that's mythic right now, and people are coming into it and they realize that not only do you have people that want the arts, but you've got the resources to do it.
It's a really great arts community that believes it can be a leader.
Fort Worth, while it's a large city, feels like kind of like a small town, but it has a huge array of performing arts and visual arts options, and people just seem to be really surprised when they come here and find that.
Culture is at the forefront of who we are, and that is the thing that makes us unique.
As time goes on, Dallas will be one of the center of attention in the United States, the place that everyone is going to want to come to. It's got so much to offer.
Arts leaders and arts patrons are still learning how extraordinary the Arts District is here in Dallas.
Here, I've had the feeling in the last 15 years that the organizations here have taken these sort of quantum leaps to a new level.
Now there is a lot of exciting things happening.
The Dallas Arts District is the largest contiguous urban arts district in the United States. We have 20 square blocks of museums, performance halls, parks, restaurants, offices, and homes. We have partners from the Dom in Amsterdam to Barangaroo in Sydney, and we are really leading the way in terms of sharing best practices among cultural districts.
The Cultural District is a gem in North Texas. It's something we're all so proud of here.
To have this many museums in this small of an area, I don't think there's very many cities that can say that. You can walk to look at Western art at the Amon Carter, you can go across the street and look at the Modern Art Museum, and then you can come to the Kimball and see everything from antiquities to the mid-20th century.
Bass Performance Hall opened in 1998, and since then became almost an instant cornerstone for the performing arts here in Fort Worth and in Tarrant County.
They're just agog at the offerings here, at the facilities, at the quality of the holdings in the museums, the quality of the Dallas Symphony and the Dallas Opera. It's really amazing.
The creativity that's now coming out of the arts world is very impressive.
This is something that over time Dallas will get more and more known for.
We are really the only major arts group in the area with total focus on youth, education, and families. We reach 50 to 60,000 school students a year during the school day. And that doesn't count our national tour, which brings in another 100,000.
The Kimball is an unrivaled museum experience. It brings the best together of a collection of about 350 masterpieces from Michelangelo to Matisse.
Well, the Eisman Center is a fixture in the art scene of all of North Texas. We bring entertainment in that we feel will be appealing to the broad sector of the patron population.
The Nasher Sculpture Center is one of the most elegant buildings anywhere, and the gardens outside are just beautiful.
I'm so excited that we have Maestro Yap here in town. I mean, one of the best. It's so exciting to go to the opera at the best opera hall in America, according to Opera Magazine.
One of the things that the Dallas Opera has done over the last several years is built a big community outreach program through our simulcasts. In an aggregate, these simulcasts have reached around 40,000 people, actually over that, for these free public performances. When we transmit to the stadium, we keep customer data on people who've signed up for tickets, and they're able to upload Tessitura data into mapping software and then align that with demographic data based on income and ethnic background and so forth.
For us, it is allowing us to really have that 360-degree look at our patron. We want to strongly focus on customer loyalty, customer retention, and this is giving us the data, the necessary data to do that.
It's the quality of information, it's the definition of information, the layering of information that we're able to access now.
Tessitura provides a solid backdrop for us to get our work done with meticulous record keeping and attention to detail. It's greatly facilitated our online ticket sales at kimballart.org.
We've had 4 or 5 Nobel laureates at UT Southwestern, and the fact that we've been able to attract these people from great art cities, okay, and you talk to them, it's because they can be able to go to the opera or because they're able to have a great sculpture garden like the Nasher to go to. They feel that this is the type of place they can build their lives.
What I have found as a relative newcomer to Dallas is a thriving, vibrant, humming city that is growing, that is healthy economically, that is growing more diverse by the day, and that is a city that is, I think, positioned to become truly one of the great arts and culture centers in the United States.
I think anyone who comes here to the center is going to see some really exciting things. There's going to be something for everybody. And I don't think they'll leave here uninspired.
The Dallas Arts District has become an economic engine for the region, and we are powering the performing and visual arts and helping to develop a hardy, thriving, robust creative class here through the natural collaboration and friendly competition among neighbors in our 20 square block neighborhood.
If we are seen as a creative city, we will attract young people, we will attract the knowledge workers that we need, we will be a place where people want to live.
I mean, this is really thriving and a lot's going on. Business is incredible. It's pretty neat.
Didn't introduce myself. I'm Jack Rubin, president of the Tessitura Network. And it's my pleasure, you saw her on video, it's my pleasure to introduce the woman behind the Dallas Arts District, Catherine Cuellar. Catherine is executive director of the Dallas Arts District. She worked as an award-winning multimedia journalist for National Public Radio. She's been an arts columnist for the Dallas Morning News. She was communications director for the 6th largest power grid in the country. She has a fierce, passionate advocacy for the arts. The ability to have her on stage with us, it was truly special, and I'd like to, without further ado, introduce Catherine Cuellar.
Thank you so much. It is my honor and pleasure to welcome all of you to my hometown and to our Dallas Arts District. I will start with a little bit of history. We actually have 141 years of history in this neighborhood. So the east end of our district was a freedmen's town built by freed slaves. The west end of our district was Little Mexico, and these are pictures of a couple historic churches. St. Paul United Methodist, built by freed slaves. Catedral Santuario de Guadalupe, which is the second largest Roman Catholic parish in the United States. And Dallas Black Dance Theater, which is the longest running professional dance company in the city of Dallas, housed in the historic YMCA where Martin Luther King Jr. and Justice Thurgood Marshall previously stayed during their visits to Dallas. So that's our history. In the next slide, you'll see our future. Within the last 2 years, the 3 latest additions to the Arts District have been completed. The Dallas City Performance Hall across the street, which is a City of Dallas bond-funded 750-seat multi-form theater that has world-premiered dance, theater, and concerts. The Perot Museum of Nature and Science in the bottom left, which is a combination of 2 museums, the Natural History Museum and the Science Place. It celebrated its first anniversary in December, and in its first year welcomed more than 1 million paid attendees. And the Clyde Warren Park, which was built over the freeway separating our downtown and uptown neighborhoods. As you'll see in the next slide, coupled with the Dallas Museum of Art, which in January of 2013 became the first museum of scale in the United States to offer free membership and has added an average of 1,000 members a week since then. So by the end of this year, we'll have added 100,000 new members and is using that data to target their outreach efforts. Next slide. As you saw in the video, the Nasher Sculpture Center is one of the 5 buildings in our neighborhood, including this one, designed by winners of the highest honor in architecture, the Pritzker Prize. And next slide, please. The Crow Collection of Asian Art, as well as the Nasher, were both gifts by families to our city of Dallas. This is the Dallas Opera's simulcast on the opening night of their season, which is, we are happy to say, becoming an annual tradition. They've just announced that they will again be opening their season this fall with a simulcast, which last year drew almost 4,000 people. But these fathers and mothers of our city, Eugene and Margaret McDermott, for whom this concert hall is named, Trammell and Margaret Crow, Ray and Patsy Nasher, they were in real estate development and they were in technology. And they knew that this arts district was important to our city, which does not have oceans or mountains, as you may have noticed. But for all of these businesses that have their corporate headquarters here, having a thriving arts community is helping us to be a magnet for the best employers, helping those employers to retain the best employees, and helping everyone to deepen their creative sensibilities that are essential, whether you're in medicine or security, to creative problem solving. This is One Arts Plaza across the way when it's activated, as it is on the first Saturday of each month for one community table. Next slide, please. This is one of the projects I'm most excited about, which will be breaking ground on the surface parking lot just across Pearl Street. It is called the Flora Loft and has received tax credits for mixed-use development to include underground parking, street-level retail, 3 floors of affordable housing for artists and their families so that we can put working artists within walking distance of the stages, classrooms, and galleries where they are employed, and then penthouse apartments, which I call unaffordable housing, that you're all welcome to move into. Next slide, please. So, as mentioned, we are at the center of a global network that includes established and emerging cultural districts, sharing best practices among them to help develop audiences. We know that over the next decade, there will be hundreds of billions of dollars poured into cultural districts the world over, and we really do believe that we are more than the sum of our parts, that when we combine the literary, the visual, and the performing arts, we get tremendous results like we've seen across the street at the Dallas Theater Center, which was recognized by First Lady Michelle Obama this year is having the best after-school program in the United States, Project Discovery, as we've also seen across the street at Booker T. Washington High School for the Performing and Visual Arts, our Dallas ISD Arts Magnet High School, which this year graduated 5 students who are in the incoming first-year class at the Juilliard School, and 2 U.S. presidential scholars. And this entire neighborhood is now able to serve as a laboratory and campus, not only for our Arts Magnet High School students, but for students throughout the region whose classroom texts are vivified by their experiences here and made memorable. And we hope that everyone who visits at any age and any stage in life is inspired and has memorable experiences that will tell them to tell all their friends to come back and see us. So thank you for your time. Enjoy your time in Dallas.
Thank you. Hearing it live. Thank you, Catherine. That was fantastic. So we've kind of set the scene here. We've talked about Texas. We've talked about the arts and cultural sectors going on in the North Texas region. And we've heard about the Arts District. So we're going to do another first for the network because what we are is about enabling outcomes for each of your organizations. There's over 300 organizations represented here at TLCC this year. That's out of 468 globally. It's a very wide representation. And we'll bring it down to outcomes. We're going to bring in 3 of the leaders that were in that video about the region and have a moderated conversation on stage to enable them to tell their stories and just share a few insights that maybe, again, we're all about sharing ideas, and maybe this would be helpful. So, without further ado, I want to first introduce Bruce McPherson. Bruce is the Managing Director of the Charles W. Eisman Center for Performing Arts and Corporate Presentations. Bruce has spent most of his 30 years in the field of arts administration and performing arts centers, opening new arts centers and operating new arts centers. Much of this career was spent, a good part was spent right here. Bruce was one of the first employees of the Morton H. Meyerson Center to build it, to open it, to operate it, and served as managing director for 7 years, director of administration before that. He then decided to move up the highway 14 miles, up Highway 75, to take the same role at the Charles W. Eisman Center, and build that, staff it, and he's managed it ever since. So Bruce is our first panelist, and the center opened in 2002. Our second panelist, 30 miles west, Fort Worth, Dion Kennedy. Dion is president and CEO of Performing Arts Fort Worth. The crown jewel of that organization is Bass Performance Hall. It's a world-class multi-purpose venue that was completed all with private funds and completed in 1998. It anchors the area of Sundance Square that we talked about. Performing Arts Fort Worth also owns and operates the Maddox Muse Center that houses the McDavid Studio and the Van Cliburn Recital Hall. They present many attractions themselves, touring Broadway, family attractions, popular entertainment, very busy place. But they're also the resident home of the Fort Worth Symphony Opera, the Fort Worth Symphony and Fort Worth Opera, and the Texas Ballet Theater and the Van Cliburn International Piano Competition and Cliburn Concerts. Dion has over 24 years experience, again, all in the performing arts. And she's held the same role just prior to this at Victoria Theaters Association in Dayton, Ohio, recently a Tessitura license holder. And we're going to welcome her in a moment. And our last panelist, you also saw in the video, is Keith Cerny. Keith is General Director and CEO of the Dallas Opera. Keith brought a deep and broad business and arts background to the opera. The Dallas Opera is one of 14 Level 1 operas in North America. Tessitura is proud to serve all but one of those. We're working on that. He spent 3 years as Executive Director and CFO of the San Francisco Opera. Before that, he was Communication and Technology Consulting with McKinsey & Company, Accenture, headed up nonprofit recruiting for Russell Reynolds, the recruiting firm. Educationally, he also ran the largest internet-based sheet music company. Keith is a Harvard MBA, has a degree in music and physics. He's a Fulbright scholar, He holds a PhD in economic development studies and econometrics, and is a conservatory-trained pianist and conductor. So I'd like to welcome all of our panelists, conversationalists, to the stage. Welcome. We're going to get right into it, and I'm going to address questions to each of you and maybe a question to the panel as well, depending on time. So I'm going to start with Keith. Keith, opera, like some other art forms, is criticized for aging audiences, programming being static, cost being out of kilter, and the business model being upside down. The Dallas Opera seems to have taken the initiative to beat those trends, turn around declines, be recognized as a leader, and have much innovation, as Catherine just indicated. In a recent interview, though, with the Wall Street Journal, you disputed the certainty of aging trends in this sector that was cited by the Metropolitan Opera. In addition, you've built an endowment and more. I'm sure our audience wants to know, how in the world did you do that, and how did you turn around the audience trends?
Well, thank you very much, Jack, for your kind introduction. And yes, things are going very well for the Dallas Opera. Over the last 4 years, I've worked very closely with our board to really refresh and energize the company in 4 ways. And I'll just talk briefly about each of them. The first is we've reoriented our entire company's strategy and mission around a community service model. That has 3 elements within it. The first, of course, is terrific opera. We presented the beautiful opera house that Catherine showed photographs of. The second element has been a very vibrant education program where we work with schools and teachers and young students, both at their schools and back at the Windsor Opera House. And then the third has been a very robust program of free public simulcasts in Cowboy Stadium, now called AT&T Stadium, in Clyde Warren Park, as Catherine mentioned, in Salmons Plaza outside of the Windsphere. And this has allowed us to attract a younger, more age-diverse, income-diverse, ethnic-diverse audience than we'd see typically within the Opera House, and that's been very positive in terms of attracting new donors and support. The second area that you mentioned is around the area of programming, and we're very committed to presenting what we call evergreen classics. These are the Bohems and the Toscas and the Aidas, and where would we be in opera without them? They make perfect vehicles for simulcast. But at the same time, we've also added more what we call neglected gems, works like Korngold's Die Todesstadt, and a very vibrant program of 20th and 21st century opera, including commissions. Building on the big success back from 2010 with the world premiere of Jay Kagi and Gene Shear's Moby Dick, which has since traveled to other locations, we actually have not 1, not 2, but 3 world premieres in calendar 2015, which is totally unprecedented for us and really almost any opera company. And we'll kick off that new program with Joby Talbot's first ever opera with libretto by Gene Shear called Everest. So that has given us a lot of artistic vibrancy we're very proud of. Very briefly, we've also formed artistic partnerships with a lot of the organizations you've mentioned, and Catherine mentioned the Dallas Children's Theater, the Dallas Museum of Art, the Dallas Theater Center, SMU, UNT, and that has really helped us bring it out into the community. And then just to wrap up, a little over a year ago, I appointed a new music director, Emmanuel Villon, who has a great international career in opera and has really our advocate and our talent scout and works very closely with me on our programming. So all of those things taken together have really done a lot to help stabilize and strengthen and refresh the company.
Well, that's unbelievable. Kind of a blueprint for turning around an opera. It's unbelievably impressive. Going next to Dion, it's interesting that in 2014 and 15, you have a bit of a collaboration with the Dallas Summer Musicals. 34 miles away, 4 big musical productions performing at both your venues in the same year. Typically, I think there's a bigger geographic exclusive that takes place, and it's an interesting strategy that I guess to me considers that you think the markets are distinct from each other. So is this the case, and is this the kind of collaboration kind of a model for the future?
Well, yes, let me first of all say probably many of you before you got here didn't realize that Dallas and Fort Worth were actually separate cities, right? But they are. And Michael Jenkins runs Dallas Summer Musicals, and I've known Michael long before I moved to Fort Worth 5.5 years ago. Michael and I are both members of the Broadway League. We're Tony voters. We're members, original members of Independent Presenters Network, which is a a group of Broadway presenters from around the country who are independent, meaning we book our own shows within our venues. We don't have another booker do them for us. And so it was kind of natural for us to start working together. And we tried just a couple of shows, just one show a year for a couple of years. And we did very much see that there was not much crossover. And I know the traffic was okay when you got here from the Gaylord, which is north, but if you're going east and west, it can be pretty dramatic. And so we did find that it didn't hurt either of our sales. We do not consider each other to be competitive, but it is highly unusual in the touring Broadway world to present a show back to back 30 miles apart. It's, I think, probably unheard of. So I think we're breaking new ground. We're both very excited and pleased about that. And as Keith was talking about, programming is so important to what you do, and what you bring to your stage is critically important to customer loyalty and retention. And so for us, it is helping us while working with Dallas Summer Musicals, working with them to book shows back to back. We get them sooner in our market. And it helps us from a marketing standpoint, because while we are separate cities, we have one media market, and it's a top 5 media market, so it's extremely expensive. So we combine our marketing budgets. Our marketing teams work very well together. We combine the marketing budgets for across the 3 weeks, and that helps us tremendously. And so this is our first year doing this many together, 4 shows that we're both doing. We're very excited about it, and I don't know what the future will hold. Scheduling is always very difficult. Tour routing is difficult, but we hope to keep doing it as much as we can.
Well, that's great. Collaboration is the trend, and it has been for a while, and you're kind of breaking new ground, and it's fascinating to hear that. Turning to Bruce for a minute, it's interesting that you were one of the key leaders to build and open this magnificent hall. And then you headed up the highway 15 miles to do the same thing in Richardson. And those of you that don't know this area, Richardson is kind of at the gateway to the population explosion that goes north almost to Oklahoma. So now that the Arts District is doing what it's doing, and we have the kind of vibrancy here, and you're up there where all is happening, how do you approach programming and marketing to both coexist and also to thrive?
Well, I think we're still following the original mission statement of our institution. When we opened in 2002, we knew we wanted to be a regional center, but we wanted to be a regional center in which our clientele was primarily going to be nonprofit organizations and arts organizations that were desperate for a home. They just did not have any place to perform. And so unlike the other venues that are in this market, we are 80% four-wall rentals by client groups that come in and utilize our building. And what we provide them are professional services, professional staff, state-of-the-art venues. Over the years, we started to explore the presenting side of things. And the first year we were open, we only did 4 shows. Now we're doing on about 20 to 24 shows a year. And what we've always tried to do is, we knew we were not going to be a Broadway house. There was no way we were going to go into that world. And so our largest hall, being 1,600 seats, is again suitable for a number of programs that we think are appropriate for the Metroplex that are not necessarily being done in the other venues. So the presenting is growing, and we are doing everything we can to diversify our marketing aspects to make that work. And again, respecting what is already being done down in the Art District and trying to find our own area of expertise and types of programming that might not necessarily be down here. Trust me, people in North Dallas and north of LBJ, as we call it, the Interstate 635, will still gravitate down here for all the big things that happen in the Arts District. But there's a wealth of other activities that we can present up in the Jewel to the north, and we're happy to do so. And so we're trying to just basically fill another niche that the Arts District is not covering down here.
Well, that truly is coexisting and thriving at the same time. So it's great to learn about that, and I'm sure it's happening in other markets as well. I'm going to switch back to Keith, and we have a pretty active group here. There are probably people tweeting right now. So social media has a life of its own, and organizations have all sorts of strategies to both proactively engage, inform with your own voice, also deal with, shall we say, interesting conversations that pop up, whether it's about programming, casting, ticketing, seating, or anything else. How does the Dallas Opera handle social media and all of the different channels successfully?
Well, as you mentioned, my job immediately prior to moving to Dallas was being CEO of sheetmusicplus.com, so it'll come as no surprise to people in the room that I believe in the power of social media and online presence. We take our role in this very seriously and put a lot of senior resource in it. I write a monthly column for theaterjones.com, which is the big arts aggregator here in North Texas, and pieces that I've written working with our editorial team and support have been picked up nationally, in some cases even internationally, in terms of some of the statistics on the simulcast. So that's given us a lot of presence out in the virtual world. We have some of our top marketing and PR people actively monitoring the Facebook sites and responding to questions and so forth, and really drawing in new people through that vehicle, particularly in our search for public audiences for the simulcast in Clyde Warren Park, the stadium, and so forth. And then another area that has been very powerful for us actually is working with Google Analytics, and we were able to track the impact of a public service announcement or an appearance that I might make on a local TV station in terms of web traffic, in terms of what those patrons do online, all the way through into ticketing them for these events on Tessitura. And then, as you mentioned earlier, we're able to upload that information into maps where we can track patron households against demographics and income and so forth. And those have been incredibly powerful sales tools as we work with foundations like the Dallas Foundation that has underwritten the simulcast in the stadium.
That's covering a lot of bases, and Theater Jones probably gained about 400 new users here in your blog as well. It's actually quite interesting. Swing back to Bruce here, right next to me. We have 43% of the people that were here this year this is their first conference. Many of them were with organizations that were new to Tessitura. Not all of them, many of them were new to their organizations. But you've been you're with an organization that's been using Tessitura for several years, so you have tenure to understand the Tessitura Network and the difference in the company. So what advice do you have for relatively new organizations to the Tessitura Network, a cooperative company, for them to benefit and thrive as your teams have?
Gosh, I think you already know, just by virtue of the quantity of what has happened just over these first 2 days. I mean, this conference is unbelievable in what the Tessitura folks bring to the table. And of course, we saw it last night with the march in of the Tessitura team, the staffing, that whole element of environment, the team building. But that's basically what we all are too, because all the users on the system are members. We are all members of the same family. And it's really hard to find organizations out there that can drive that from the top all the way down to the bottom. So ultimately, no matter how small of an organization you are or how big of an organization you are, you get the same level of service. Everyone is there to support what you're doing. And I can't think of too many other associations and or support organizations that have that equal standing, no matter what your genre is, whether you're a producing outfit, a presenting outfit, a rental house, whatever it may be, the system is there and it will work for you. And so enjoy the next 4 days and you'll go away without any questions whatsoever.
Well, I'm going to put you at the podium to go from here. I'm going to throw one open to the group, and whoever would like to take it can take it. So you each operate in a region and, frankly, a world, and we all live in a world today with many different forms of entertainment. Besides arts and culture, there's lots of distractions. What does it take in 2014 and beyond to succeed?
Wish we knew, for sure.
It's going to take engagement. It's going to take ongoing, constant customer relations and meeting the needs of, and when I say customers, I mean our clients are our customers, but the clients' patrons are their patrons, but they're our patrons. And so it's a full circle. You have to interact and you have to provide the service levels on all fronts, whatever they may be, to keep them engaged with your organization and what you're doing.
Well, it's a great answer, and I'll kind of play on that, and this will have to be our last question. Part part of surviving is building audiences. And those people that come the first time, this is up for any of you, it's people that come the first time, being able to get them to come back. The statistics show, I believe, that if they keep on coming back 2-3 times, you can get them back for a long time. So what are some of the tips to leave with the group here that you're doing to stimulate that level of engagement and get them back a second and third and more times?
Well, I would say at the opera, a lot of what we focus on is coming up with a top quality artistic product, which we've had for many years, but also something that really engages and resonates with the community. And I mentioned earlier this world premiere of Everest. At first blush, we're a long way from the Himalayas. What could be the connection? It actually turns out there's a lot of linkages here between the community and some of its leaders and the Everest adventure and climbers and riders and so forth. So tapping into that kind of local community interest, making it real and alive and relevant and new. People in the arts want to see something new. If it's a production of something that has been done many times, like Tosca, we have to bring something new to the table. But we also bring something new through these premieres and lesser known works.
Well, it's a great place to leave it, and I'd like to be the first to thank all of you for doing this on stage for the network for the first time.
Thank you.
Did our little experiment work? Well, those folks were representative of the arts and cultural landscape here in the North Texas region, and the ideas that they had are pervasive around the world. Representing all of you, the 300 organizations that are here and the 468 in the network, is the Tessitura Network Board. We don't have outside investors. We have a board made up of our users. And by our bylaws, this isn't by chance, by our bylaws, that board represents you. They're diverse by size, they're diverse by geography, they're diverse by genre, and they're diverse by skill set. So, and representing the board is the chairman of the board, who also is here today, a panel of speakers, all for your entertainment. So it's a board chair that I've never been able to introduce a board chair before by saying he's the lead guitarist, a lead guitarist for the Tessiturian band. So Kevin Giglinto, you'll see him on stage on Wednesday night. Kevin Giglinto is Vice President for Strategy and Special Initiatives for the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, one of the leading orchestras in the world. He is responsible for institutional innovation and defining and implementing long-term strategic initiatives for the CSO. Fancy word for building revenue. Since the late 1990s, Kevin has been at the forefront of digital innovation and creating user-centric, interactive experience in the arts. Many of you might have heard his session today. So I'd like to welcome my board chair, my boss, Kevin Giglinto. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And to be clear and honest, I am one of 6 talented guitarists. And we are a small section of 25 really remarkable musicians and singers that make up the Tessiturians. So shout out to my fellow Tessiturians. Thank you. Headed up by James Walker, who none of that would be possible without James Walker. And don't miss our performance on Wednesday night at the Glass Cactus. So that's my one promotion for the night. Thank you all for being here and part of Tessitura Learning and Community Conference 2014 here in Dallas, Texas. And thank you so much to the city of Dallas, the beautiful city of Dallas, for being such wonderful hosts in especially this really beautiful space. So we at the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, like probably many of you, see Tessitura as our core business system with a lot of different applications and internal strategies integrated with it. But from our perspective, it's so much more than that. And you may have seen my Tessitura Innovator Series presentation on building lifelong patron relationships. And we at the CSO believe that building holistic relationships with our audience members will lead to stronger connections and stronger bonds with them, which will result in us having a place in their arts and cultural choices throughout their lives. We really do believe that, and we have seen it work. And what Tessitura has done for us is given us so many tools to enable us to realize that vision. And by realizing that vision, they're giving us tools to help us achieve our mission, which is essentially what they're doing for all of us. What Tessitura does is, and what Tessitura is, it's the Tessitura Network, because it takes their talented team together with all of us, 460 plus cultural arts and cultural organizations from across 3 continents, working together and finding solutions and trying to stay on the cutting edge to provide us the tools we need to achieve our institutional missions. And we're here this week because of a very unique community, this community, all of you, and for a very, very deliberate collaboration, because the strength of the community and the power of this gathering is the sharing that takes place between all of us. And the sharing of ideas and solutions, some of it related to Tessitura, some of it not even related to Tessitura at all. And it's those ideas and solutions that come back and feed back into the community, make the community stronger, but makes Tessitura stronger because they learn from our ideas so that they can stay on the front edge to figure out the right technology, the right ideas and solutions to help us all achieve our missions. And it winds up being a very continuous, virtuous cycle with the Tessitura Network at the center of it. And we are all the network. And that's how this works. And in the end, Tessitura is about people. And yes, it is great technology. It is remarkable technology that we rely on day in and day out to do our jobs. But it's the people behind the technology. And it's the people in this room that build on that technology. And it's the people back in our organizations who aren't here at the conference today who also build on that technology and leverage the sharing that we all bring back so that we can then make sure that arts and culture through our organizations can thrive back in our communities. And, you know, we all work in arts and culture, and it's a very admirable field, and we're very proud to be part of it. But in all honesty, we work in a very challenging and competitive landscape that is the business side of arts and culture. And without creative people, like those people in this room, all of you, and the people throughout our organizations working tirelessly to build audiences, members, donors, and patrons to help our organizations thrive, arts and culture wouldn't be what it is today. So I want to thank you for everything you're doing in this community and through your collaboration. And as I said, Tessitura is about people, and you are all the network. And so on behalf of the Tessitura Network, I want to thank you, the Tessitura Network. Have a great conference. Thank you.
Kevin said it very well. This is not their normal company. It's all working together. It's interrelated. Mutualistic comes to mind. Symbiotic comes to mind. We're all benefiting each other. So you defined, actually many of you, several of you that are involved in the network, in 2001 we were formed, defined our mission. The mission has 3 prongs. Kevin focused on the community prong as well as the rest of them. So technology, mission. Continually innovate that technology based on what you have to tell us and where the direction is, and also looking at outside technology in other industries. Services. We'll talk a little bit more about that, and community and knowledge sharing. And that takes place in many ways. Certainly at the TLCC, like this, but in other places, really 365 days a year in forums, in local user gatherings, and other activities. And this is a large gathering. It's a large network. It's a large group. We've added to it. Being large doesn't benefit us personally. This is a community-owned company. It benefits you from the ability to share more ideas with more people from around the globe. It also benefits you financially, because the more users we have, the more it allows us to spread our cost and not have to increase fees. A matter of fact, we haven't increased fees for years. In some years, we decrease fees. So that's a very, very different paradigm than the typical relationship. So I want to thank each of you that came here with your time, but also invested your Australian dollars, your Canadian dollars, your New Zealand dollars, your United States dollars, your British pounds, your euros, and your Danish krone. So, yes, I did say Danish krone. The network is very pleased to expand to a new country last year in a major way. This is the Royal Danish Theatre. They have the Royal Danish Playhouse here, which has 6 main stages, and across the bay in downtown Copenhagen from that is the Copenhagen Opera House. Down the street is their 1874 historic theater. There are 9 of them here, actually at the network. 9 people came over from Denmark. They represent 990 employees back home. They put on over 700 performances a year. They're really smart people. I learned from them. I've seen them present at presentations in the United States and in Europe. I learned from them keen insights into data and analysis, great operators, and they'll be longtime members they'll be longtime contributors to the network. Our UK team, speaking of global, are the ones that are installing and working and training with them. And a special note to Monica Kellstrom, who their IT director and project manager, who couldn't be with us today. And Monica, if you're watching, we do wish you well. Speaking of expansion, as Kevin said and as I said, we have had a big year. We had 42 organizations join the network last year. 42. So join me in welcoming the class of 2014. Those 42 organizations represented all genres. We're actually covering many genres, and we're growing in all genres. We have had a pretty significant push in the museums and attractions sector, and that benefits, again, all of us. I was in a breakfast discussion this morning where the Shed Aquarium in Chicago talked about how they had picked up on the Surprise and Delight program that Kevin presented in the Innovator Series, and they're now doing the very same thing, except they're not delighting them with a seat movement. They're delighting them by taking them under the sharks and watching the sharks be fed from underneath. So ideas come in different ways, and that's the beauty of the network, is these different genres all have ideas and we all share with each other. Also represented in this room are different size organizations. In the organizations in the Tessitura Network, actually this pie chart may surprise some of you. It's small to medium organizations represent the largest majority of the network now. While we did start with a couple of large organizations, it's quite the diverse group. And we have organizations with 10 employees, a few less in a couple of cases, and we have organizations with over 1,000 employees. The technology is the same, the business needs are the same, the services are the same, and our service to all of them are the same. So it's really cool when the ideas come from all different genres and all different sizes. We have not been sitting still. As a matter of fact, the pace has accelerated. It's been enlightening, it's a little bit frightening, but it's something that we embrace. The network has had many milestones. We're not going to go through these today, but milestones with new products, milestones with new innovation, but importantly, every year since the network has operated, we have continued to upgrade the technology involved. That's a pretty big statement for a company in this industry, because many of you did not have that case in other places. And the last 3 years were intense, up through 2012. From 2009 to 2012, at great expense and great effort by our team, totally re-architected Tessitura software. That's enabled us in 2013 and 2014 to release the biggest functional release in the history of the company. Tomorrow, on Tuesday, you'll hear Chuck Reif and Kristen Darrow on stage talking a lot about that. So I'm excited just to share a few ideas that it spreads across the network. Many of you are already using a new graphical sales approach called Quick Sale. We're excited about that, and that's been launched at many different genres of organizations, and they're excited about it. Taking pricing, sometimes tedious to set up, sometimes inflexible. We have turned it upside down based on your input, made it easier, made it faster, more opportunities to bring in revenue, and also tying to the revenue enhancement ideas. We had a team, this is the network at work, coming out of the member advisory committee, envisioning if they had their dream, what would fundraising be like? And that was re-envisioning it with plans and portfolios and a whole new approach to moves management. And many of you are on V12 right now. Tessitura on the go. What could be better than being able to take Tessitura with you on your pocket or on your tablet and being able to look up information on the fly and actually see reports. So Tessitura on the go, not an extra license, it's all there. NSCAN, our access control software, has grown. It's grown in functionality, and it's totally rewritten in the new version that's out now, including some pretty cool features like we call composite tickets with multiple items represented on one barcode. The web team has been very busy across their product line with expansion, several releases a year for TN Express Web, TN Social Ticketing, Facebook, ticketing within Facebook and engagement, and TN Mobile Plus, which again stimulates that engagement but also processes transactions, and now in the latest version pushes the tickets to the mobile device as well. So we are excited about all this technology, and there is more to come. Tomorrow you'll hear about it. Our technology team keeps me under wraps. They will not let me show new technology before it's released. So I will not be telling you about the Tessitura roving box office, Turbo we call it. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Services, it's a big group here, and this is not the forum, but we've expanded some services. We have soft launched a few things. We've communicated with some of you about that. We're excited about it, and again, it's to meet specific needs at specific types of organizations, maybe at specific times in your life cycle. Then, from a community and knowledge sharing, I think we've covered that. That is continual. But it doesn't just happen here at these conferences, and it doesn't just happen on the forums and other things. It happens around the world. We're all excited about being here for 4.5 days, and much of that knowledge sharing has taken place. And we have, from our global participants, we have many people here from the UK and from Europe and from Denmark, but not everybody could come. And the community is kind of taking care of that. So they've set up regionally driven conferences where ideas are contributed from the network, and many of the network staff contribute, but they're locally organized. These have become pretty big deals. On October 20th and 21st in Birmingham, England this year, organized by the core this year, they rotate this around by the Birmingham Hippodrome team, who are great. If you're interested in helping them coordinate and plan this, there's going to be over 70 sessions, and they're expecting over 450 people. 450 people at a regional usual gathering. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, the ANS truck is driving up to Melbourne this year. So I don't have the date yet in my head. It was in Sydney last year. I think there were 250 people. All of our license holders in the region were represented. So it's so great to be able to see this proliferate in big and small ways in other parts of the world. And again, the ideas or the usage of the system is the same. So we are doing more community and knowledge sharing, enabling more community and knowledge sharing for you to make that happen. One of the things that's exciting for me in preparing for the conference is looking through the presentations as they come in and seeing what's happening. The ideas are just prolific, and I couldn't resist just a few samples, because my biggest problem, and perhaps yours as well, is I can't go to the 235 sessions. I can only go to X number per day, and I have to come down here and do this so I missed the session in the afternoon. So a little sampling. People are excited about Tessitura on the go, especially the Lyric Opera. Oh my God. And Orchestra Iowa, you'll hear from Robert Massey in the Innovator Series on Wednesday. The Netflix member model makes me want to pull out the credit card and figure out how I can participate in that. The Stratford Festival, we heard a lot about data. A gift level score. It would be great to learn what that is in that session. And if you're not there, the systems are there. So somebody took the periodic table of content marketing and turned of the elements and turned it into content marketing. I have to learn what that is. And we're here at the Dallas Symphony. A lot of this is very practical ideas that are brought. It's not just new innovations. So the Dallas Symphony participating in a panel about development and marketing working together, something that I know all organizations are striving for, that right balance and how to have that initiative, and they're part of that. Many of you, we have a whole separate kind of track this year on education. Booking camps, booking classes, both online and offline, and there's a lot of sessions on that. And I don't know what's going on in Vancouver. Before Tessitura was there, these people were in jail. So if they're here today, I guess they got out of jail post-Tessitura. But much more about data, and with the tools that are available at all of your fingertips, included, data can be tamed. So a lot of basics, upselling through the box office. Keep calm and remember to upsell. So that's their mantra. And the last slide, I don't know what a presentation is with turkeys need shampoo. So at some point during the conference, I want somebody to explain that to me. So yes, there is a lot of content that's here, and this is just a sampling of just a few. The TLCC, as Don talked about last night and Andrew talked about, it takes a community. There is a conference team that puts this together. They are led by Mr. Youngberg, our Vice President of Community, who does it so well. He's keeping me on time as well right now. But it's a core team. They have a conference planning team that's happening 12 months forward. Actually, we've booked the next 4 years. And I'm going to jump ahead and tell you where all 4 years are at once, 1 year at a time. So it's not just the conference team. It's all of us are drafted mandatorily to help out with the content, but with putting on the conference and the ability of the organization to have themselves march themselves in. The team had a lot of fun with that. It looks like a lot of people because it is a lot of people. Actually, we had 31 people join us since TLCC in San Francisco. They're veterans now. Many of them were users of the software, and if not, they were really smart dudes. So 31 people, you can recognize us by our shirts, and we hope to meet many of you while we're here. So this team is 116 people now and growing. There are more of them because we're serving more of you. We're serving more of you with more services, and every one of these people does it because they have the mission at their heart, and they have your interest at heart. And the mission is to help you guys succeed. That is why we're here. I've worked with a few other companies, and this is the most amazing business model, and most importantly, the amazing group of people to work with, and the best team I've ever worked with. So I want to thank you for the hour tonight, and we have an exciting evening to enjoy the rest of the festivities. So thank you very much.